The mind shapes everything you become long before the world ever sees the results. Every achievement, every failure, every decision, and every habit begins as a thought. Before success shows up in your work, it shows up in your thinking. Before confidence appears in your actions, it exists in your mindset. Your life is not shaped by what happens to you, but by how your mind interprets what happens to you. Two people can face the same challenge, the same pressure, the same setback, and walk away with completely different outcomes. The difference is never luck. The difference is the mind. Your mind is constantly working, whether you are aware of it or not. It is either building you or limiting you. Every time you say, "I can't," your mind listens. Every time you say, "I'm not ready," your mind accepts it as truth. Over time, these thoughts become beliefs, and those beliefs quietly dictate the choices you make. You don't rise to the level of your potential, you fall to the level of your thinking. That is why so many people stay stuck, not because they lack ability, but because they never trained their mind to believe they could grow beyond where they are. What you repeatedly tell yourself becomes your internal reality. If your mind is filled with fear, doubt, and excuses, your actions will reflect hesitation and avoidance. If your mind is trained to focus on purpose, discipline, and resilience, your actions will reflect strength, clarity, and persistence. The world responds to what you project, and what you project is shaped by your inner dialogue. When your mind believes growth is possible, your behavior aligns with that belief. When your mind believes failure defines you, you stop trying long before your limits are reached. The most powerful transformation in life is not external, it is internal. You don't change your life by changing your job, your environment, or your circumstances alone. You change your life by changing how you think when things get uncomfortable. Pressure doesn't break people, untrained minds do. Challenges don't destroy confidence, negative thinking does. When your mind is strong, obstacles become lessons instead of roadblocks. Failure becomes feedback instead of a final verdict. Every version of yourself that you admire already exists as a possibility in your mind. The disciplined version, the confident version, the resilient version. The difference between who you are now and who you could become is not time, talent, or opportunity. It is the daily condition of your thinking. When you train your mind to focus on effort instead of excuses, progress instead of perfection, and growth instead of fear, you begin to evolve, slowly at first, then all at once. Your habits are the visible expression of your mindset. A focused mind creates consistent habits. A distracted mind creates inconsistent effort. A strong mind chooses what is hard now instead of what is easy now. And over time, those choices compound into character. Character is not built in moments of comfort, but in moments where your mind tells you to quit and you choose to continue. That choice is mental before it is physical. The mind shapes everything you become because it is the starting point of all change. Train it to see possibility instead of limitation. Train it to respond with intention instead of reaction. When your mind grows stronger, your life follows. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become capable of handling more. And that is where true power begins. Discipline your thoughts before you chase success, because success without mental discipline is fragile and temporary. Most people focus on outcomes first. They chase titles, money, recognition, or status, believing those things will bring confidence and fulfillment. But without control over your thinking, success becomes a burden instead of a blessing. An undisciplined mind creates chaos even in the presence of opportunity. Before you build success in the world, you must build order in your mind. Your thoughts run your life more than you realize. They decide how you react to pressure, how you treat failure, and how long you stay committed when results are slow. If your thoughts are scattered, emotional, and impulsive, your actions will be the same. You may work hard, but without direction. You may be talented, but inconsistent. Mental discipline is what transforms effort into progress. It is the ability to choose focus over distraction, responsibility over excuses, and long-term purpose over short-term comfort. Success demands consistency, and consistency begins with controlled thinking. You cannot wake up motivated one day and defeated the next and expect meaningful progress. Discipline means showing up mentally even when you don't feel inspired. It means guiding your thoughts back to what matters when fear, doubt, or boredom tries to take over. The mind naturally seeks comfort and certainty, but growth exists outside of both. Without discipline, your mind will always pull you back toward what is easy instead of what is necessary. When challenges appear, the undisciplined mind looks for someone to blame. It blames circumstances, timing, other people, or bad luck. A disciplined mind looks inward. It asks what can be learned, what can be improved, and what must be done next. This shift in thinking changes everything. Instead of feeling powerless, you become responsible, and responsibility is where real power lies. You stop waiting for permission to grow and start building momentum through intentional action. Your internal dialogue determines your endurance. When things get hard, the mind starts negotiating. It looks for reasons to stop, slow down, or settle. Discipline is the skill of not believing every thought you have. Just because your mind says you are tired doesn't mean you are done. Just because it says you are not ready doesn't mean you cannot begin. A disciplined thinker understands that thoughts are suggestions, not commands. They choose which thoughts deserve attention and which ones must be ignored. Success is rarely lost because of a single mistake. It is lost because of repeated mental lapses. Skipped commitments, lowered standards, rationalized excuses. These decisions don't feel dangerous in the moment, but over time they shape identity. When you discipline your thoughts, you protect your standards. You act in alignment with who you want to become, not who you feel like being in the moment. This alignment builds self-trust, and self-trust fuels confidence. Before success can be sustained, the mind must be trained to handle discomfort, uncertainty, and delay. Discipline teaches patience when results are invisible and resilience when progress is slow. It reminds you that meaningful success is built quietly, long before it is recognized publicly. When your thoughts are disciplined, you stop chasing validation and start pursuing mastery. And when mastery becomes the goal, success becomes inevitable. Train your mind like an elite athlete because peak performance is never accidental. Elite athletes are not defined only by physical strength or talent. They are defined by mental conditioning. They understand that the body follows the mind, and when the mind is weak, the body quits early. In life, business leadership, and personal growth, the same rule applies. You cannot expect extraordinary results from an untrained mind. Just as athletes commit daily to sharpening their skills, you must commit to strengthening your thinking if you want to perform at your highest level. An elite athlete does not train only when motivation shows up. They train because training is part of who they are. They show up on days they feel strong and on days they feel tired. That same discipline must exist in your thinking. You cannot wait until life feels easy to focus, believe, or stay consistent. Training the mind means practicing control over your thoughts, even when circumstances are uncomfortable. It means choosing effort when comfort is available and choosing growth when quitting feels tempting. Mental training begins with awareness. Athletes study their form, their habits, and their weaknesses without ego. They don't pretend flaws don't exist, they work on them. A trained mind does the same. It notices negative patterns, self-doubt, fear, and distraction without letting them take control. Awareness creates choice. Once you can see your thoughts clearly, you can decide whether they help you or hold you back. An untrained mind reacts automatically. A trained mind responds intentionally. Elite athletes visualize success before it happens. They rehearse movements in their minds until confidence becomes natural. This is not imagination for comfort, it is preparation for performance. In life, visualization works the same way. When you consistently picture yourself handling pressure, staying calm, and executing with purpose, your mind learns familiarity. What once felt intimidating becomes manageable. Confidence is not arrogance, it is mental familiarity with challenge. Training the mind also means strengthening focus. In competition, athletes must block out noise, pressure, and distractions. One moment of lost focus can cost everything. Today, distraction is constant. Notifications, opinions, comparisons, and fears compete for your attention. An elite mindset protects focus fiercely. It decides what matters and returns attention there again and again. Focus is not about perfection, it is about redirection. Every time your mind wanders and you bring it back, you are training mental strength. Failure is part of every athlete's journey. Losses, injuries, and setbacks are inevitable. What separates champions from everyone else is how they interpret failure. They don't see it as proof they are incapable, they see it as information. A trained mind does not attach identity to a single outcome. It understands that progress is built through adjustment, not self-criticism. When you train your mind to learn instead of collapse after failure, resilience becomes automatic. Consistency is where mental training compounds. Athletes follow routines because routines reduce decision fatigue and emotional fluctuation. When training becomes automatic, performance becomes reliable. The same is true for thinking. When you repeatedly choose discipline, optimism, responsibility, and patience, those choices become habits. Over time, you don't have to force positivity or focus, they become part of your identity. This is not about pretending everything is fine. It is about refusing to let temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions. Elite athletes also understand recovery. Rest is not weakness, it is strategic. A trained mind knows when to push and when to pause without guilt. Burnout comes from intensity without awareness. Mental strength includes self-respect, boundaries, and reflection. When your mind is trained, you don't need chaos to feel productive. You can move with calm intensity and still make progress. Training your mind like an elite athlete means committing to growth long before results are visible. It means embracing discomfort as proof of progress. It means holding yourself to standards even when no one is watching. Over time, that mental conditioning changes how you show up in every area of life. Pressure feels lighter. Decisions feel clearer. Confidence feels grounded. Not because life stops being hard, but because your mind becomes strong enough to carry the weight. Consistency beats talent every time because talent without commitment fades, while consistent effort compounds into mastery. Talent can open doors, but it cannot keep them open. It may create a strong first impression, but it cannot sustain long-term progress. History is filled with people who had incredible potential yet disappeared because they relied on ability alone. Consistency, on the other hand, does not depend on mood, recognition, or natural gifts. It depends on discipline, patience, and the willingness to show up repeatedly, even when results are slow and unglamorous. Talent often creates a false sense of security. When things come easily, there is little pressure to develop habits, structure, or resilience. The moment difficulty appears, talent alone has nothing to stand on. Consistency prepares you for those moments. It builds a foundation strong enough to carry you through doubt, failure, and fatigue. When effort becomes routine, progress becomes inevitable. You may move slowly, but you never stop moving forward. Consistency is powerful because it removes decision-making from the process. When you commit to showing up every day, you no longer debate whether you feel like it. You act because it is part of who you are. This creates momentum. Small actions repeated daily may seem insignificant, but over time they accumulate into massive change. What feels like nothing in the moment becomes everything in the long run. Talent shines in short bursts. Consistency endures. Anyone can be motivated for a week or inspired for a month. Very few people can stay committed when excitement fades. That is where consistency separates those who succeed from those who quit. Progress is rarely dramatic. It is quiet, repetitive, and often invisible. Consistent individuals trust the process even when there is no immediate reward. They understand that growth is happening beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. Failure tests consistency more than success ever will. When talented people fail, they often question their identity. They are used to winning easily, so setbacks feel personal. Consistent people see failure as part of the rhythm. They expect it, learn from it, and continue. Their confidence does not come from outcomes but from effort. They know that as long as they keep showing up, improvement is unavoidable. Consistency also builds character. It teaches patience, humility, and responsibility. You stop chasing shortcuts and start respecting the process. This mindset creates stability in performance and confidence in uncertainty. When you know you can rely on yourself to show up, pressure loses its power. You don't panic when things get hard because you trust your habits more than your emotions. Talent may attract attention, but consistency earns trust. Leaders, teams, and opportunities are built around reliability. People invest in those who are predictable in effort and attitude. Over time, consistency transforms ordinary ability into extraordinary results. Skills sharpen. Judgment improves. Confidence grows naturally because it is backed by evidence, not hope. Consistency beats talent every time because it compounds. One day of effort means little. 1 year of steady work changes everything. 5 years of consistency rewrites identity. The person who refuses to quit, who improves slightly each day, eventually surpasses those who started ahead but stopped moving. In the end, success belongs not to the most gifted, but to the most committed. Purpose begins in the mind, not the circumstances. Long before direction shows up in your life, it forms in your thinking. Many people wait for the perfect situation, the right opportunity, or the ideal timing before they feel motivated to act. They believe purpose will appear once conditions improve. But purpose does not arrive from the outside. It is not granted by luck, status, or comfort. It is created internally, shaped by the way you choose to see your life and your responsibilities within it. Circumstances are always changing. They are unstable, unpredictable, and often outside your control. If your sense of purpose depends on them, your motivation will rise and fall constantly. When things are good, when things are hard, you feel lost. A mind anchored in purpose does not operate this way. It remains steady regardless of external shifts. Purpose is not the absence of struggle, it is the reason you continue despite it. That reason is mental before it ever becomes visible through action. The mind is where meaning is assigned. Two people can experience the same situation and walk away with entirely different interpretations. One sees hardship as punishment. The other sees it as preparation. One sees responsibility as a burden. The other sees it as a privilege. Purpose lies in these interpretations. When your mind learns to frame challenges as part of growth rather than proof of failure, direction becomes clearer. You stop asking why things are happening to you and start asking what they are shaping you for. Many people confuse purpose with passion. Passion is emotional and often temporary. It rises quickly and fades just as fast. Purpose is deeper. It is quiet, stable, and rooted in values. It does not require constant excitement. It requires commitment. That commitment begins with mental clarity about who you want to be and how you want to contribute. When your mind is clear on those things, your actions gain direction even when motivation is low. Purpose also emerges from responsibility. The mind that avoids responsibility avoids meaning. When you take ownership of your actions, your growth, and your impact on others, purpose begins to take shape. You stop waiting for life to happen and start participating in it. Responsibility gives your effort weight. It makes your work matter, even when it is unseen or uncelebrated. This is why purpose often grows stronger during difficult seasons. Pressure forces clarity. Struggle strips away distractions and reveals what truly matters. A purpose-driven mind is not focused on comparison. It does not measure progress against others. It measures alignment with values. When your mind is rooted in purpose, envy loses power. You are no longer distracted by someone else's pace or path because you are committed to your own. This mental independence creates peace. You can appreciate others' success without feeling threatened by it. Purpose gives you direction, and direction reduces noise. Fear is one of the greatest obstacles to purpose, and fear lives in the mind. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. These fears convince people to play small, delay action, and settle for comfort. A purposeful mind acknowledges fear but does not obey it. It understands that clarity often comes after action, not before. Purpose is not found by waiting until you feel ready. It is built by moving forward despite doubt and refining direction along the way. Purpose also requires patience. The mind must accept that meaningful work takes time. In a world obsessed with speed and instant results, patience feels uncomfortable. But purpose is not urgent, it is enduring. It grows slowly, shaped by repeated effort and reflection. When the mind is patient, setbacks do not feel like endings. They feel like part of the process. You remain committed because your reason for continuing is deeper than immediate reward. When your mind is anchored in purpose, discipline becomes easier. You are no longer forcing yourself to work, you are expressing what you believe. Effort feels meaningful because it aligns with your values. Even routine tasks gain significance when connected to a larger reason. This mental connection transforms how you experience effort. Fatigue becomes manageable because the work matters. Sacrifice feels justified because it serves something greater than comfort. Purpose is not something you discover once and keep forever unchanged. It evolves as you grow. The mind must remain open, reflective, and honest. Growth brings new responsibilities, new perspectives, and new ways to contribute. A purposeful mind adapts without losing direction. It understands that purpose is not a destination but a way of moving through life with intention. In the end, circumstances may influence your path, but they do not define your purpose. That definition begins in your mind, shaped by values, responsibility, and the willingness to grow. When your mind is clear, direction follows. When direction is clear, action becomes consistent. And when action is consistent, a life of meaning is built, not by chance, but by choice,